While enshrining the right to assisted death into law might sound very tolerant, it's arguably a ticking time bomb, socially and ethically. Compassion must, of course, temper discussions on anything involving human suffering. But legitimate compassion for the ailing or bereaved few is never a sound foundation for public policy that will impact the many for generations to come. The argument over assisted dying is not a new one, but it carries a special resonance in our time. We tend to live longer than our immediate forebears, but that also means we're around long enough to face new and unconquered illnesses. Debilitation probably seems more offensive to us today because we place such great faith in technology and pharmaceuticals and their capacity to deliver quality of life to the end. On a philosophical level, the rapid advances we see in technology encourage the idea that human beings can and should be the sole deciders of their individual destinies. It's a line of thought which arguably in some ways places individual rights above social responsibilities. The potential impact of passing the Assisted Dying Bill for our social structure and the well-being of future generations should not be underestimated. Nor should the potential for frail human agencies in the form of institutions or individuals to turn good intention into bad practice. One of the many moral and legal minefields we'd face if assisted dying were legalised would be the question of the logistics of its provision, not just in the immediate term, but further on into the future. It's easy to stipulate, as the current proposal does, that 2 doctors and a senior judge must be involved. But what's to prevent one of those doctors from being part of a business or organisation set up specifically to offer assisted dying, presumably for a price? Dignitas is the now famous or infamous privately owned Swiss organisation that provides assisted dying as a service. It's surely not the only such organisation, and making its base offering the ending of lives legal in the UK will doubtless lead to the birth of many more similar businesses. Over the past decade, we've heard many stories about the relatively few Brits who've paid their fees and travelled to suicide clinics to end their lives. Dignitas reports that 350 Brits have made use of its service. Yet little is written about the many thousands who've stayed at home and received palliative care. They've chosen to pass away relatively peacefully and naturally in the hands of caring family members and professionals. A perennial concern for many Brits is the possibility of the privatisation of parts of the National Health Service. Part of the worry is that profit motives might quickly become more important than the burden of care. If Parliament eventually passed the new proposal, what makes us think that we wouldn't soon see the emergence of a profit-making industry devoted to ending life, where the business of dying is more important than the duty of care? It's not unrealistic to imagine that we would soon see the emergence of privately owned, elegantly presented, Dignitas-like organisations. They'd be run, effectively, as death clinics, openly advertising their wares. In the process, they contribute to a dark sense that we live in what Pope John Paul II called a culture of death. And we shouldn't underestimate the impact of that sense of foreboding on the minds of young people and children. There is, I'm sure, a healthy income to be made from trading on the promise of a comfortable death, especially in an age of deep uncertainty. But society as a whole would pay a much greater price for allowing assisted suicide or encouraging it. I'm Mal Fletcher.